What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Saturday to you. I hope you are having an amazing Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I'm just ecstatically crazy about there. You know the drill. Make sure you hop in, say hello, where you're tuning in from, so I can give you a shout out for sure. This is coming across Facebook users, so I'm not exactly sure who this may be. I'm not checking out my Facebook page. So, hey, if you want to say your name so I can, give you a shout out, let me know. But I definitely appreciate you tuning in for sure. Make sure that you give Ecamm permission. Like I said, that's why, your name comes across as just Facebook user, especially Facebook. If you give Ecamm permission, go to ecamm.com/connect. That way, like I said, I can, your avatar will come through and information will come through, and I'll be able to, like I said, give you the shout out that you so richly deserve. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning in for the show. Let me know again where you're tuning in from. If you are tuning in from, let me know if you're catching this from LinkedIn, because I am checking out my LinkedIn page, and for some reason it's not showing up. The broadcast is, so I would definitely want to make sure that it's coming across in LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn kind of gives me some fits sometimes with that. So if you are connected with me on LinkedIn or trying to check it out on LinkedIn, let me know if it's coming through, because like I said, I'm looking at my LinkedIn page and I don't see the broadcast for sure, but let me go to the events and see if it's broadcasting for sure. Hopefully it is. Appreciate you tuning in, Mr. DeMille, for sure. Always. I did a quick Instagram live just before the show, and appreciate you tuning in. I think I'm going to do a little more of that before the show. Quick little Instagram, TikTok live before the show. Connect with that. Miss Maggie, appreciate you tuning in for sure as well. Like I said, we broadcast live each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, you're here. Please, but make sure that you connect with me on all my social channels. Follow, connect with me. Definitely want to hear from you. Get some feedback. How you think the show's going, and who you may want me to try and get on. But just definitely want to hear from the viewers, because it helps me to make the show better. So please, like I said, you can find me on all those social channels. Again, we do broadcast live, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the Facebook pages and groups. But I always highly encourage everybody to hop on over to the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification, subscribe, comment, give a thumbs up. Definitely helps out the channel. Plus, you can check out all the other great guests and friends that I've had on so far. So hop on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Don Terrell, and come be a part of the community. Like I said, we got a lot of big things happening for the show for sure. Definitely, if you caught the episode last week, we just announced a couple of our new sponsors for the show. Big new sponsor for the show. Toon Boom Animations is sponsoring. You also heard that we are doing an amazing giveaway with them, giving away 2 1-year subscriptions to their amazing software, Harmony 21 and Storyboard Pro. So you got time to jump into the giveaway. It ends July 7th, midnight Central Standard Time, and we're going to be announcing the winner on July 9th episode. So you definitely want to get into the giveaway. Hop over to the LinkedIn page or the Facebook group or page, and you'll see the video that I shared out this week and will be continuing to share out. There, it lets you know the few things that you have to do to get entered into the giveaway. And I definitely want to get this software in the hands of some creatives. So super excited about that as well. Also, if you are, one of those ones that, like I said, we don't just, want big sponsors. Any help and support from people we definitely appreciate. And hey, I love a great cup of coffee. Who doesn't? You know. So there, go to buymeacoffee.com/Don Terrell. You can, donate and help out with whatever you, see fit. $5, $1. We have a membership there where we're going to be putting exclusive content into the group that you'll be privy to. $5 a month, I think it is, or you can do, $50 for the year for the membership. But any amount is much welcome. So we appreciate it for sure. Again, like I said, make sure you hop into the comments, say hello. Definitely hope I can get some LinkedIn users here because, like I said, I definitely want to make sure that it's coming through on LinkedIn. Again, it's not showing up on my site here, so I don't know if it's just a glitch or what. Hopefully, we'll get some LinkedIn users in here to let us know. But again, I appreciate everybody that tunes in each and every week. Like I said, season 2 has gotten off to an amazing start. So looking forward to today's guest. Been looking forward to it for a while. I know you're going to enjoy it. But we've got a lot of big things going on. The site is coming along amazing. Like I said, the website should be up in a week or so. So we'll be making that announcement as well as, some swag items. Like I said, is coming more to give out as well. So, like I said, not just with Toon Boom, and the licenses that they're doing, but, as we get more sponsors in, we're going to be doing a lot more amazing giveaways and just contests and just having all around fun. So definitely want you to get plugged in for sure. Hop on over to the Facebook group community. Like I said, get plugged in there, facebook.com/groups/the color of motion. We're having a lot of fun over there, sharing a lot of industry news, just connecting with each other. So I definitely want you to be a part of that as well. So, like I said, with that, I think we're about ready to rock and roll into this fun episode with my next guest here. My next guest is an illustrator and comic artist based in Brooklyn, New York. Over the past 10 years, he has worked on various projects in the creative industry, including marketing, advertising, storyboard art, character design, comic book art. A well-versed savant in comic book art and graffiti aesthetics. Graffiti. He graduated from Minneapolis College of Art and Design and spent a fair amount of time toiling around the freight yards in his hometown of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. I have a feeling he's done a lot of graffiti art in the freight yards as well. He fell in love with New York City, and after landing an internship at Marvel Comics, and brought his Midwestern roots to New York City and planted himself in a bustling metropolitan city to take on the adventure of a bubbly Gotham. He's worked with some amazing clients such as IDW Publishing, Abrams Books, Printed in Blood, Comedy Central TV Network, Viacom, All Things Comedy Media Studio, Redline Publishing, Topps Trading Cards, Phoenix News Time, City Pages Newspaper, Jeep Automotive, just so many, so many people that he worked with. Please, everybody, help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. Anthony Pugh. Anthony! So glad to have you on, man. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this for a while, for sure, ever since we connected.
Yeah, that was a nice intro, man.
Hey, we bring
That was
our
humbling,
guests
man.
on in true star form.
Yo, that was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show, man. I truly appreciate it. I
No.
feel like amongst giants because you've had some pretty awesome, talented people on the show, and like, what am I doing on here? So
Hey,
yeah, thank you
when
much,
you
man.
see his work, you'll know why. Like I said, he's super talented, amazing. We immediately hit it off when we connected. When I saw his work, I immediately knew that I needed to get him on, and just a super nice guy. So, no, thank you for being on the show and being a part of the Color of Motion family for sure. I'm curious though, at kind of what age did you realize that you kind of this is what you love to do and kind of enjoy doing?
Um, it's funny because I was literally telling my wife this story. It was I was a little kid. I was drawing all the time, and I didn't really think about it, And I can't remember if I was in like first or second grade.
Yeah.
And,
Ooh.
oh yeah, this classic song.
Oh, that
There's a lot
accidentally
of
accident. Sorry about that, people. That
no, it's all
why don't you
right.
close that? We throw some nerve.
It
I don't
actually
want to
goes
get I don't
along
want to
with
get
the
sued by
story.
your.
So it was like I don't know, like first grade or something, and I drew this huge poster, this like on a big piece of paper of the space shuttle launching, and I got into it like I drew everything like 3, 2, 1, take off, and I drew like little like birds and stuff and smoke and the shuttle launching and stuff, and I was like it was so awesome, and the teacher was impressed, and she took me to the other classrooms to have me show this big drawing I did to all the other students and stuff. And I specifically remember standing in front of this classroom full of kids holding my big drawing of the space shuttle launching. And the teacher's like, oh, we know what Tony's going to be when he grows up. And I like enthusiastically like looked at the whole class and at my poster. I'm like, I'm going to be an astronaut. And the teacher was sitting there just shaking her head. And I'm like, what? She's like, and she like put her hands on it and she looked and she's like, you're gonna be an artist. And I like looked and I was like crushed because I was just like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. At the same time, I realized I was just like, oh, I'm an artist. I love drawing, and that's when I realized I was gonna do art for the rest of my life.
Oh man,
So it's something I
amazing.
always think about, just like, yeah, I'm gonna be an artist.
Amazing, amazing. And we're having a little, wouldn't you know, issue with this one scene where I'm back in. But we're gonna roll with it,
Yeah,
and tell you what. While I'm gonna
I'll
keep
tell
you on
her story.
here. We're gonna keep it on you for a while I fix this scene. But I will ask you this. Um, obviously, like I said, you kind of had a passion for drawing. What was it about graffiti art? Because that's a art style in and of itself. And I
Yeah.
noticed that, and especially in New York and that area, graffiti is like really big. But for you, what was kind of the appeal of graffiti art?
Um, I grew up falling in love with comics in an early age, and comics and the colors and the lettering and just the styles, because every artist kind of comes up with a different style and stuff. And I was around 16 or 17 years old, and I caught wind of graffiti, and it's the same thing. Like the colors, the characters, the there's different styles, and every artist kind of brings their own unique style to the name that they're writing and stuff. And where I'm from, the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minnesota, Minneapolis has like a had like a really dope little graffiti scene. Totally different from like New York or like LA and stuff, but like Minneapolis, they had all these like tracks, these bridges and stuff, that cats were just like painting all as graffiti, and then the freight yards, cats were just like painting them and stuff. So it was kind of like this small little subculture in the Twin Cities that was kind of this hideaway thing that happened, and I fell into it and totally loved it. And developing my own specific style that I like have honed for like the past over 20 some years. Um, and yeah, aside from comic books, it's like those two things were kind of parallel in my whole entire life, graffiti and comics.
Awesome, awesome. Um, for you, what was, I mean, kind of transitioning as you were deciding to do art and everything? What made you decide to kind of go to, uh, MCAD, and what was it about MCAD that kind of stuck out to you um, as the place to go? Was it just kind of proximity that made you go there, or was there something specifically that you felt like you could get from uh, you know College of Art and Design there?
Yeah. Discipline. Discipline. I think at the time I was a leaf in the wind, man. Like I was just, doing graph, and I knew I wanted to do comic books in the long run, but I couldn't sit still,
Yeah,
that's what really I loved about graffiti. It was just like you have to do it, it's you're living in the moment, and you have only so much time to paint. I mean, there was a legal wall in Minneapolis, and you could kind of take your time, but kind of some of the legal stuff that we did,
yeah.
yeah, just if my mom's watching and stuff, like legal graffiti. But yeah, you were kind of forced to do it, So like, and I knew I wanted to draw comics, but I couldn't sit still and just like draw comics. It was just like and I short attention span, so I was just like, dude, I should go to college and study this. And MCAD specifically is because when I was in high school, they had this post secondary program where in high school you can take classes at MCAD for free, and you get credit, college credit ahead of time. And I could use it for high school, and then I could use it for college if I wanted to. And my teacher suggested I did it, so I was just like, oh, okay. And I went and took some classes, and I had like life drawing for the first time, and I was just like, oh, drawing people, and that changed my mind, my world, So I was just like, and so after I graduated from high school, years later, I was just like, I should go to MCAD, and glad I did, because had some really great teachers. Peter Gross, who drew the Books of Magic,
Hmm.
and another teacher, Ryan Kelly, and he's done a ton of different books. He was working on Books of Magic too. Those two teachers really had a big impact on me. And and yeah. and from there, from school and stuff, it helped me get an internship at Marvel, which led me to New York.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and speaking of which, like I said, and we were talking a little bit about this before the show. Just New York and the vibe there. What was it, like for you? Kind of coming from the Midwest and then going into New York.
um, well, the first time I visited New York, it was all about graffiti. Like I just wanted to first thing I did was just like, yo, I want to go to the Bronx, and just check out all the murals, like
Yeah,
FX Crew and like all these famous like graph writers, that I kind of looked up. Back in Minneapolis, we would get these graffiti magazines and stuff, get subway art and graffiti art. Style Wars, the movie, Wild Style. There's a documentary, or whatever, and those movies, like, and those magazines and books and stuff was just like, ah, man, I gotta see that stuff as soon as I got to New York. So, like, I just consumed it, or I'm off the screen.
yeah. No, that was my bad there. Sorry.
um, but yeah. And I had some friends living out here too, so it was just kind of like, I just kind of like fell into it,
Yeah,
and it wasn't until like I actually lived here that I like, really was just like, I gotta have like an art career, and build up some kind of illustration where I'm like actually getting paid,
yeah, yeah.
because I mean,
So what was it like? Like I said, when you got into Marvel, I mean, what was it like when you got the gig into Marvel, and what
oh,
was
the
your big kind
internship.
of takeaway from that?
I don't know, like it was more cool just being there, but like I actually didn't really learn anything. Like I did some stuff, but I knew that I didn't want to work in an office.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like, hey, I'm at Marvel, this interns, it's just like this isn't totally not what I want to do because I was just sitting at a computer, paginating trade paperbacks,
Yeah.
and I met some really cool and made some connections and stuff, and I had a portfolio and I showed Axel Alonso was actually the editor in chief here at the time. No, actually, no, he wasn't the editor in chief, but he gave me some feedback. My portfolio was so bad; it was such crap. And I was, I was just like, um, when I was actually living here, it was some of the life experiences that actually kind of changed my perspective of like what kind of artist I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, like the first 10 years, I wasn't even pursuing comics. I was actually showing in art galleries. There was a bunch of galleries that was showing paintings, like kind of graffiti esque, kind of
Yeah.
like illustration type paintings and stuff. And I was showing at a bunch of galleries in Brooklyn. And it was kind of wild, having like I've had a couple solo shows and stuff, which was kind of fresh. Um, my brother actually came out and DJ'd one of the shows and stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, he used to like do these like battle DJ like hip hop things. So like he would do his like scratching and stuff, and things and a couple friends breakdancing and stuff, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then like the housing market like hit, and the two main galleries that were showing that like closed up shop. So I was just like, it's hard making money selling paintings. Let me switch gears up, like
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
graffiti to doing these paintings. Let's really focus on illustration and comics.
Yeah.
So literally, like the past 10 years, I've been just 100% focused on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, do you feel like um, you know, being in New York and has added to your artwork in some shape or form, and in the comics that you do, being in that kind of environment?
yes and no. Um, I think the one thing about being in New York is you're pushed. You feel the competition. Especially when you go to like comic cons
Mm,
and you go to other social events. And you go to some
yeah.
shows, and if you're willing to like reach out to like other artists and stuff, you feel like shit. I really need to like step up my game.
Yeah. Yeah.
these guys are really good,
Yeah.
um, but at the same time, it's expensive as hell out here,
Yeah.
like, uh, I mean, coming up July, I'll be out here for 20 some years, and I knew I should have probably left earlier, but the city is a vortex, because I know I probably might have been a little bit further ahead in my career if I stayed in Minneapolis,
Oh,
but
really?
maybe, I really, I don't know, I think about it all the time, just because it's so expensive. I had to work some really horrendous jobs,
Yeah. Yeah.
to pay rent,
Yeah.
and pay the bills and stuff, and the rent out here is ridiculous, and
Yeah.
it's an expensive city.
Yeah.
And there's an insane party scene out here that, I've definitely got sucked into. And I'm like, why did I spend the whole weekend going to like
Oh
this
man.
barbecue
And
and that, this and that? I should
and I
stay
think that's
home and
the
work
beauty.
hard.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of what people realize now is that you can work remotely. You don't necessarily have to live while it's convenient to
Yeah,
live, like say in California where the animation is, or a lot of studios are at, or L.A. or New York, or in certain areas. You know, with I guess the pandemic kind of showed people that they
yeah,
don't necessarily have to live there in order to do the work for sure.
yeah. And FYI, me and my wife moved out to New Jersey last October. So like we're in Jersey now. I'm not
Yeah,
New York
yeah,
anymore, but I see it from my window.
yeah,
And and it's
yeah,
actually, I mean, after 20 years in New York, I love the city. I love going into the city still, but it's kind of nice to have a little bit more distance.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I'm curious, and this maybe, excuse me, maybe a little off track, but where were you during 9/11? I mean, were you up in New
I
York?
I was actually in Minnesota, but my
Okay,
internship was the summer before 9/11. So I
okay,
spent the whole summer like in New York running around like, yo, I love this city,
yeah.
And as soon as I got back, like a week later, like 9/11 happened.
9/11 happened. Yeah, and that's what I hear about New York. It's just a different city with a high energy vibe to it. That, like I said, it's just so dense. And we were talking about this earlier. It's just so dense and it's so packed with people. And you're so in such close proximity with each other
Yeah.
that it's just got that kind of high energy. I don't know if I necessarily would want to live there, but I definitely would like to visit. Because I've never been to New York, and just being in that kind of environment where it's just people everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it gives you a lot, but it takes a lot
Takes a
too.
lot. Yeah,
It
yeah,
does take suck some of the energy out of you, but
yeah,
it's I don't know. I think the one thing that I do take full advantage of is just the creative community.
yeah,
There's just so much like to just consume. Especially as an artist. You just you go to the Met, you go to the gallery shows. And it just
mm,
never. You know.
yeah,
Another thing that I should mention too is when I started really taking my career serious, especially with comics and stuff, I was fortunate enough, and I didn't have this in Minnesota. There was there's a small community and it's changed, but I mean over 10 years ago, like um, my a really dope artist, you should probably have him on the show, Kari Randolph. He started this drink and draw, which was a bunch of artists getting together at this bar and everybody would draw. Sometimes there's a model,
yeah,
sometimes there's just like a theme and stuff, and that like alone like motivated me on so many levels. Just being around professional artists, artists who were just starting out, and different artists in illustration, animation, cats doing different stuff, and just being around some of these guys was, every month we would meet up and do this. And, I made some friends that I'm still friends to this day with, and it's
yeah,
just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I super appreciate it because it wasn't just, you know, it was mostly people of color,
yeah, yeah,
and from school, and even, other, and just in my career and stuff, it was the one thing that I always found myself kind of like alone. And Kari put this together, and it created a sense of, identity, but also like, confidence that I didn't really have before,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't know. Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's something I don't know if I would have found in Minnesota. But it
Yeah.
definitely here in New York, and it expanded me to kind of reach out to other creatives of color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, that's amazing. I'm curious. You
Kari.
Kyrie. I'm curious though. Your teacher obviously saw, the skill in you. How did your parents kind of, or did they see or encourage you in any kind of way, or realize that you had a knack for this?
Um, yeah, yeah. My parents have always been super supportive. Yeah, my parents, my mom especially, has always been like, do what you love, even though that I'm sure she still probably wants me to like have a normal job,
They all do.
I'm still like trying to explain to her what freelance is, and I'm like, no, I freelance. I don't have a job. It's always, and my dad actually was an artist. He wanted to be an artist. He drew when he was a kid and stuff. And he collected comic books, and that's where my love for comics come from. Because
Yeah.
as a kid, there was comic books all over the house.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was just there, just kind of. But yeah, my dad wanted to draw, and he'd always tease me and stuff. He'd be like, "I draw better than that," and I draw stuff.
Definitely motivated you.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Um,
what were some of the favorite comics that you loved to read? As your dad was having comics around, what were the ones that really kind of were the ones that you kind of loved?
Um, I remember there was the Demon Saga, the New Mutants. I forget which number it is. The Bill Sienkiewicz one that he drew. That was the one that really blew my mind. And then Spider-Man: Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yeah.
That thing,
Yeah.
like I remember reading that thing and was just like, wait, what? Like and after that, I was just like, get out my bike. Anytime I changed the ride to the comic book shop, there was this comic book called Shinders,
Mm,
and I would just buy as many comic books as I possibly could,
yeah.
and just started amassing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like yeah, and I just couldn't stop. And of course that same shop it opened up to me to Dungeons and Dragons, and I started getting those little pewter like figures.
Yeah.
Started painting those things. Even though I didn't have any friends to play Dungeons and Dragons, I'd still buy the books and like kind of set it up and just have these little fantasy like role playing
Yeah.
concepts, and then I would draw characters and stuff. Um, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Again, everybody that's just tuning in, we're having a fun conversation with my guest and friend, Mr. Anthony Pugh. We do have a question here for you, Anthony, Mr. DeMille. Question: which Marvel character takes the most thought to draw? Also, which is your favorite to draw and why?
Which one? My favorite? Definitely Spider Man. Like Spider
Okay.
Man's my favorite. Do the draw. He does take the longest because you get to draw all those webs. Um,
You're going to
but
see some of his amazing work in a minute here. You'll see why. Uh,
I do love drawing Spawn. I like drawing Spawn a lot. Like I'm not that when McFarlane dropped that Spawn back in the
mm,
'90s, like that thing.
yeah,
That was the coolest thing in the world. Like
yeah,
yeah, definitely like drawing him. Um, but yeah, really, I like the stuff that takes the longest. Really is usually my own creations. Just because I want to put more thought into it, so I spend more time thinking about it, trying not to look like other people's stuff.
yeah,
Because I think
yeah,
like that's the hardest thing to do is when you do your own stuff. Is it's hard not to look like somebody else.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And that's another thing too. With comics, there's been so many characters, so many, iconic characters. It's like, okay, what superpower can I give them? It just seems like
Yeah.
every superpower has been done some kind of way or used some kind of way. So coming up with an originality is definitely a skill, especially now with so many
Yeah.
characters out. And I'm curious, and I've had this conversation with some of my other guests that are doing they're kind of doing like uh, online comics with creating apps that allow people to view and comics online, and then allow creators to kind of get their comics online. Do you still have this kind of love for the traditional books as opposed to say all obviously with all the books behind them he does and what because that's what I was asking them was you know I get that a lot of people consume content digitally now online, but
Yeah.
there's still this contingent when it comes to comic book artists and comic book lovers that love the hardcover books and just having the hardcover books. Doing it. So, do you feel like there's a merger or at least a partnership between the two where they can coexist together, where you're still creating those traditional books, but there's an avenue for people to and artists to get their creations online into the hands of people that are, consuming it that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do both. I mean, I love because comics are expensive nowadays.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like I'll read some stuff online, and but if there's something that really resonates with me, um, like I like Sean Murphy's like a huge. I love his artwork, and
yeah,
his back on what he's doing with the White Knight thing,
yeah,
like I gotta buy that. I gotta have that, and there's something about it that feels different,
yeah,
versus digitally versus the paper stuff. And
yeah,
then some stuff is just like, um, but yeah, I think there's something about having paper in your hand, there's something that just, feels different versus digitally, I mean,
yeah,
even with making art, I mean, I do both. I like to do art on paper, but working digitally has opened up so much
yeah, yeah.
more, options and stuff,
And like you said, it is, which is I guess why comics are getting expensive now. It's expensive to produce,
Yeah,
comics, especially for the independent creator that's doing that. They're not Marvel, they're not DC where they got millions of dollars to throw in behind. Because I've had several um, independent comic creators on, and just having to print up so many copies of your comic, and you're doing it yourself and paying it for yourself and all. It's a lot.
yeah. Well, I've run a couple Kickstarters, and I did a Kickstarter. The last one was that was a couple years ago, right
Yeah,
before the pandemic. I did this book called The Vapor, and it was a success. I mean, I didn't ask for that much money. I just asked enough for to get the book printed,
yeah,
and it was nice. I mean, that's kind of one of the awesome things about with just social media
yeah,
is there's some people out there you get a cool idea and you throw some artwork together, and if you have a passion for it and stuff, there's people out there that will support you,
yeah.
because I was just expecting like friends and family. Oh, there's Tony trying to make a drawing, and I was surprised that all these people are like, oh, okay, cool, let me just keep going here,
Yeah, no. I think that is the beauty of this time that we live in. You got so many avenues as a creator to get your work
yeah,
out there.
yeah,
So many social platforms, so many, like you said, funding platforms such as Kickstarter to get out there and building a community. Definitely, people do definitely support these Kickstarter programs of books and films and things like that that they love to see and be a part of. You know.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely, and it's definitely helped my career because I knew. I mean, I was the dude I would show up to every Comic Con with my portfolio, and I'd get some great feedback and stuff, but nobody wasn't hiring me. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, what am I going to do? I want to draw some comics, and I was making some money doing some freelance illustration and stuff, but like the comic book industry is just a really, really competitive, place, and I was
Yeah.
just like, you know what? I'm not just gonna make my own comic book and just do it myself,
Yeah.
and it actually opened up some doors for me, and some people were, oh, hey, do me a commission, I liked your comic book and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and
Um, and to that point, I mean, are you love comics, but is superhero comics kind of your thing, or is it? Do you have a? I've because like I said, I don't know if you've seen Newton Liveloy's work, but he does a lot of
yes,
horror
yes,
comics.
I know that cat. That dude,
Yeah,
that dude's book is
he does
awesome.
some. Like I
Yeah,
said, like I said, his comics book, and I think he doing or just finished a Kickstarter with Demon Slayer. Oh man, I forget
yeah,
her name, but like I said, I had him on, and he was just showing her, um, and it was amazing. But he does his thing is kind of horror vampire comics and the
yeah.
like. Is there a kind of certain genre that you kind of like, or does it really matter for you?
Well, I love horror. I'm a big horror fan. And the Vapor was kind of a horror like sci-fi thing,
Yeah,
and then the book that I'm working on now is a straight horror book, and there's no like superheroes and stuff.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like some of the sketches I'm working on now, it's just dudes getting their heads ripped off.
No, like I said, and it's great. And what I love about it is, it's great to see, people of color and characters of color in these type of, like I said, different genres. And I think, like I said, when um, Jordan Peele did, Get Out, it really kind of, like I said, just put it out there that blacks are in horror, kind of horror movies, and we love horror, and it just puts black characters and characters of colors in these stories, other than kind of the superhero genre, you know, that we even in that space weren't getting a lot of play, other than some of the main characters, but
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it's really good to see. And I know another one. Oh, geez, uh, he's more the writer though. Um, Brian Hawkins, I think. Um,
I know Brian
is
Hawkins.
yeah,
We actually
he's
worked on.
doing like Black Cotton, but it's
Yeah,
kind of a different spin on a social commentary between black and white. But it's and like I said, it's just seeing all these different characters of color in these different like genres is very inspiring to see,
yeah.
for sure. And the type of work that's coming out. Um, but for you, um, is your individual kind of, or your goal kind of your individual IP, your own kind of uh, character and stories, or are you, like I said, wanting to kind of get into Marvel and DC, or is your goal kind of to create your own stories and your own characters and such?
Oh yeah, the idea of like drawing the X Men and Spider Man, I'm just like that I've that dream has kind of sailed off, and
Yeah,
I want to just focus on original IP,
yeah,
and not even that, but it's the exciting part of just like doing something that's original is far more like enthralling. Just in my career working on other illustration projects where someone's telling you what to do,
Yeah.
and they're pulling at your strings, and you have to revise it the way they want, even though there's a part of you that's like, hey, I want to make it like this. You can't. Um, yeah, I want to make my own stuff. I want
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah. Yeah.
be in charge and have more creative control.
Yeah.
And just connecting to my youth and graffiti, like I have that persona or that part of me that's just like, nah, I don't want to. I want to do whatever I want, and I want to have that freedom. I mean, it'd be cool to do a Marvel book,
Yeah.
but it's not like it's not something that's overwhelming me and making it my
Yeah.
number one priority like I used to. I would sit there and just spend like a whole year working on 6 pages for a portfolio, and I'd put so much effort into it, and then get a no,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get a rejection, another rejection, and it's just like I can't spend that much time working on something that I can't really turn around and sell and make it my own self-published book.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Future wise, like yeah, man. I hope that I can, keep working on my own self-published stuff,
Yeah.
and work on a graphic novel and work with a couple other creators and stuff. Because I just look at so many of these creators, like you were talking before, are just funding their own books through Kickstarter, and or not even that, but pitching their own books through other
Yeah.
publishers
Yeah.
and stuff, and they're making their own stuff, making their own companies. It's like, why work for Marvel?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can
And
do your own thing. So like, I don't know. I'm excited for just
I
the
think that's
future of
where, like I said,
independent creators.
I truly think that's where like the real change is gonna, come from the independent creator that's creating
Yeah,
their own stories. Now, while we all love, Marvel and DC, they kind of tend to rehash or remake kind of or change over. I don't know how many times have they done Batman? You know,
I know,
I'm
right?
not just talking about the comic, but I'm talking about the movie. As far as the character, they just,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So now, like I said, you got these independent creators that are coming up with their own ideas and own spins on story. I don't know if you've seen or heard of Marcus Williams,
yeah.
another super talented comic book artist or just an artist, illustrator. But him and his partner created the Tuskegee Air, comics. Just a super intelligent spin on the Tuskegee Airmen,
Yeah.
and the artwork is fabulous and stuff. So just creators like that are coming up, and such as yourself, that are coming up with their own ideas, their own stories, and putting it out there. I think is where the true change is going to come. As far as just new characters, new stories, new ideas, because like I said, the mainstream DC Marvel, they're gonna, they got a plethora of superheroes and characters that they're gonna just, hash out stories over.
Yeah.
How many new
I mean,
characters out there?
I mean, Robert Kirkman with The Walking Dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, and Todd McFarlane alone. Like I'm a huge fan of Spawn, but like everything that dude does, him leaving, a huge company and starting Image, and I followed that my whole life. And he's still at it.
oh
Like over
yeah.
three
He's doing a
issues.
lot of toys as well, a lot of
Yeah, he started his
toys
own
and
toy
figures
company
as
and
well.
stuff. And it's just like, what, like, and you know, that's something that definitely I would like to like, emulate, as a creative, and looking to the future of the things I want to do and stuff. It's just like, yeah, man, I, would love to like, design a toy.
Yeah,
I try to sit down and I've got a couple ideas and stuff. One day I would hopefully be able to figure out how to fully like, make a 3D thing, but you'd be with the 3D printer, like what?
yeah,
Yeah, man, I want to rock that.
yeah, yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
And that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of coming up with your own IP. There's so many other things that you can attach to it. Like I said, comic book, figurines. They're doing it anyway. the big studios are doing it anyway with their characters, So
Yeah.
these independent creators now, and that's why I say I love this time that we are. It's a great time for creators because they've got so many of these tools, avenues available. Like you said, you know, you got 3D printers where you can, build your own character if you want,
Yeah.
and print it out and really make it something viable. You got, if you're an animator, you got YouTube and all these other places. You got so many great softwares out there like Blender and that are free that allow you to create these things now. So it
I'm
is,
really trying to teach myself Blender right now.
yeah,
Like,
I am too.
I usually use Clip Studio and Procreate,
Mm,
and I'm figuring out how to like kind of just do simple things, in Blender, and then
yeah,
import it into Clip Studio and Procreate, and just kind of play with that. I haven't really fully figured out how I'm going to do stuff, but
yeah,
it's like it's a fun thing to like, as a creative, to just kind of like, all right, let me. I
yeah.
mean, I don't paint graffiti anymore, but I've imported some of the 3D like trains and stuff. I've gotten Procreate. And I'm like, oh, okay, I still got some
I still
graffiti
got
stuff.
it.
I got a little bit of you still, I'll show my wife, and I'm like, yeah, this is. She's like, oh, that's cool. Well,
Oh man, but
you
yeah,
do it on an
there's
iPad and not doing it out and getting yourself arrested.
yeah, that's. But I thought that was maybe kind of the allure, at least in the beginning of graffiti art. You were doing something that was just a little on
Breaking
edge.
the law,
Yeah,
breaking
yeah,
the
breaking
law.
the law a little. Now, of course, now some cities, I don't know if they call it graffiti art more than they do just city art, where they have artists
It's
going
street
around.
art.
Yeah,
Street
street
art.
art
Yeah,
where
there's two definitive like things. There's graffiti art, and then
yeah,
there's street.
yeah.
And there's
So
street artists. They do permission walls. They get
yeah,
paid.
yeah.
Everybody's like, "Hey, good job. That's a nice mural." And then there's graffiti.
Graffiti art where you're looking over your shoulder to see if
Yeah.
anybody's coming
Yep.
for you. All right, like I said, we're having a great conversation. We're getting ready to take a look at some of Anthony's work here, and you can see what I mean. He's super talented for sure. Hopefully, these scenes won't act up on me. For sure. Okay, that one's I'm getting scared jumping through these scenes. They're acting up on me for sure. But some amazing work that you've
Oh,
done.
I did the little Kickstarter on that comic book too.
Yeah, Kid Buster. And I can and see with stuff like this, you can visualize in your head not only as a comic book but as an animated series or something like that.
Yeah.
There's just so many possibilities of where you could take an idea. You know, like I said, just I love the artwork and I love the style of how you draw. And obviously, like you said, just looking at some of your work, of course, I love Black Panther. Who doesn't
Oh
love Black
yeah.
Panther?
Yeah.
But it's such a dynamic pose, though. I love that, though. I like it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and just, of course, who doesn't love Wolverine as well, for sure. And definitely you can see, like I said, you have and just in some of your other ones too, you have kind of this New York City, you know, theme to your, you like I said, Spawn in the city. Like I said, I love, Todd McFarlane's work. Of course, he's a
Yeah.
legend for sure. Who doesn't love
Yeah.
Spawn? I love that. I love the animated one more than I did the live action movie.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah.
the animated
That
one was a lot
HBO
more
show.
edgy. Yeah.
I remember that when I came on. So, wait, what? And yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, the animated definitely. If you're gonna watch Spine, you have to watch the HBO animated
Yeah,
series. It's way
the
better.
first few were really good, but some of the, I'm just like, wait, what? Like it kind of went down, and
Yeah, and it kind of I don't know. It seemed like they cut it off before it could finish it. So I don't know
yeah, I
if it was
remember.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, during that time, I was expecting Liquid Television. Remember MTV Liquid
Yeah,
Television?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
on Flux and stuff like that.
yeah.
I was expecting like that quality just because I was consuming a lot of anime at the time, like
Yeah.
Akira, Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah.
Ninja Scroll, those
Yeah.
music. I was like, oh, Todd McFarlane's gonna do, and it wasn't the level that I was expecting, but it
Yeah.
still was cool to see. But
Yeah.
I wanted it to look like like Ninja Scroll,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think maybe he probably would, if he was doing it today, would do
Oh
it a
yeah.
little differently for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure with, just, I don't know, man, I won't say pretty sure, but I would guess being, partnered with HBO, of course, he was maybe limited to what he could do and
Yeah.
how he could do it and, the style and stuff. I don't know. But I love the Spider. Who doesn't love Spider Man? Of course, my all-time Marvel favorite. I think he's everybody's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah. I mean,
all-time
I had
Marvel.
Spider-Man birthday parties. My dad, like there's pictures. I don't remember it, but there's pictures of me with a Spider-Man shirt and like
Oh
the
man.
plates and everything with Spider-Man. And there's a picture of me with my Spider-Man underoos that I got for Christmas. Like,
Yeah, I hate to
so,
admit it, but I pretended to be Spider Man too and thought I
yeah,
could climb the wall, and that didn't happen. So,
yeah. I was
oh
indoctrinated.
man.
So,
But who doesn't? Who doesn't love Spider Man and that? But like I said, as you can see, everybody, he does some amazing work. When kind of tell what how your process is when you're sitting down. Are you? Because I know some that are just I've had some guests on. They're not colorists, but they're inkers or they're pencilers or this. Do you do the whole process, or do you enjoy doing the whole process, or for you?
unfortunately, yes, I like to try to do everything. Like I don't know what it is. I usually start out with I like to review the material, whatever I'm working on,
Yeah,
and really kind of saturate myself with what's been done, and kind of figure out everything about the story, the mythology, or if it's has nothing to do with comics, but if it's even just like a design, I like to try to like figure out what it's all about,
yeah,
and then just kind of stop, put on my headphones, listen to some music, and start sketching, And usually I spend the most time on sketching stuff, because I kind of feel like that's the do or die, like
yeah,
the skeleton of what's going to be standing up for me, as the final art, is the sketching, and then once the sketch has been approved or I'm doing it for myself and I'm happy with it, I'll
yeah,
scan that up and I'll kind of redraw the whole thing, and on the computer,
yeah.
and then going through
So
the inks and etc.
yeah, so I mean, and I'm pretty sure now you're doing a lot of it on the computer, but you know, is it is there something, or have you done like just the traditional, you know, hand inking and drawing and coloring, or do
Oh
you,
yeah,
of course, doing it on a computer is easier because you can always erase if something
yeah,
is
yeah,
not,
yeah,
definitely right, but there is something about, doing it, pencil to paper, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's pieces that I like. Oh, I really like this, and I know it'll look better on paper, and I'll draw it on paper and then ink it. And usually it's something that has a little bit more like action to it, or just something that has like that needs a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
That I haven't really fully figured out I can translate to the computer, but like with my hands, there's something where you're in the music and you're throwing the ink down, and I like to just it just feels a little bit more different,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I get the toothbrush out, and splatter the ink
Ah,
on
yeah,
with the
yeah.
white
Get a
on. I
little
just want to,
spackle.
cake it on there sometimes, and then
Yeah.
I'll get the watercolors and I'll just do a little like outline or whatever, and there's something that's just a little bit more tactile, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, and then that's the crazy thing about art. No matter how much technology, they got this VR thing. My niece and nephew are like playing with VR, and they got this painting VR thing.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah,
I played around with
that's
a little of
cool,
that.
but
Yeah.
no matter how much technology there is, there nothing beats a real life painting, you know, like, or a drawing by hand or something about it that still feels like authentic. Because, you know, art is one of those things where it's just like, you know, it reveals the artist's person, their hands, you know,
Yeah.
the mark making, you know,
Yeah.
and you could see the flaws in the art. You could see where the artist spilled, you know, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit of coffee, you know, you could smell it, you know, and it's like, you know, you feel present, you know, and you know the artist was there 100%, you
Yeah.
know, and if the mistakes were there, you can't really fully change those, you know, even you add whiteout or whatever, you know, but
Yeah.
there's
Or
something about that that's just like
yeah. Or paint
around the
over it.
flowers
Yeah.
and the tin,
I,
you know.
yeah. I know they found several um, um, Michael. Michelangelo's paintings where there's a different drawing underneath that he just
Yeah,
started
yeah,
over.
yeah,
So like you said, while I love digital art and I love, like I said,
yeah,
Photoshop and all the other tools and stuff, there is, something to just getting pencil to paper and sitting down the old traditional way. I think now, with just like kids today, they're born into this world of technology, and they haven't had to be you know entertaining themselves with a pencil and paper. You
yeah.
know, they've got a lot of the technology where I guess. I know, although I haven't got one myself, I'm looking forward to getting a Cintiq. That's about as close as you can get to maybe the tactile feel of drawing.
You
Um,
know, I've been working on the Cintiq for years, and I just, you know, switched, or I still use it, but I mean, I'm using an iPad, you know,
mm,
with Procreate, and yo, I love it. Like the iPad it feels, or maybe it's just Procreate, but it feels like I'm actually kind of drawing on paper. It feels genuine, you know,
yeah,
and you know, I like it better than the Cintiq. I mean, I like the
really,
Cintiq, but yeah, like so far, I set up everything on the Cintiq in Clip Studio,
yeah,
and you know, like my pages or whatever I need to do. There's some things in Clip Studio that I have to use, you know, because it kind of works like Photoshop.
yeah,
But I do all the grunt work, you know, all my drawing pretty much in Procreate on the iPad, you know.
yeah.
And the nice part is just, you know, I can go, you know, outside and draw. I could go sitting on in the couch
Yeah,
and
that's the beauty of a iPad. You can take it with you and just
yeah,
have that kind of free flowing. So
yeah.
definitely. Facebook user, yay, Anthony. I'm sorry again, don't have the name, so I can't call you out by name, and uh, I'm not viewing the broadcast from Facebook, so I can't see the name, but I appreciate that. I'm pretty sure it's probably a friend of yours, Anthony, that's tuning in. Mr.
I
Downtown. Downtown DeMille, Black Panther, Wolverine, nicely done. I'm a huge Hulk fan ever since Bill Bixby. I don't think that, like I said, I've seen a few of the Hulk show, the Hulk remakes and, the new Hulks and stuff. I'm always a Bill Bixby Hulk, Lou
yeah,
Ferrigno Hulk. That's when you say
yeah,
Hulk, that's what I think of, Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. So I'm
yeah,
showing my age too, DeMille.
yeah.
You can't
That's
beat it.
awesome.
You can't beat it. Miss Maggie, nice work for sure. Yeah, he does some amazing work. And definitely, like I said, looking forward to a lot more of your individual IP and characters coming up. For you, what's been, to this point, what's been the best piece of advice that you've been given that's really kind of served you?
Geez, man. I've been told a lot of advice. Oh man, there's so much advice that I've gotten, and I still feel like I'm asking for advice because, and I know for the rest of my career I'll still be like, what am I doing, and am I doing this right? You know, help me out. But you know, one of the things that I do keep in mind is definitely pay attention to professionals. Like I definitely have like, sometimes you really have to like ignore friends and family because they're always
Yeah.
going to tell you you're awesome. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're awesome. And they're always supportive, but they don't really fully know how good you are or how bad you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of have to ignore all that. You know that all that stuff, even though it's good, but you have to like really be realistic and go, man, you know, I have to work on this and this and this.
Yeah.
And one year I showed my stuff to Neil Adams, rest in peace, at Comic Con, and he really tore up my portfolio, man. Like, and it was probably the best thing I really needed to like hear and learn from, because he was giving me like the straight, advice that I
Yeah.
needed to,
Yeah.
work on. Just because it's like, yo, you're illustrating each panel to the next panel. So you're, drawing all these different little illustrations into one page, and it all has to make sense, and it's a lot to think about, So um, overall, his advice was was to just keep working,
Yeah.
just keep working, and listen to professionals, listen to professionals who are really that know their stuff, But God, man, I know I'll probably think of something. You know what else? There's another one that I heard is Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And I've been a victim of my own, machinations. Is sometimes I want to try to put everything in one thing
Yeah.
and try to create some like smorgasbord of an image. But honestly, like less is more.
More. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I try and keep that in mind myself because I think we all kind of tend to overcomplicate it or really make it more than what it should be. Whatever it is that
yeah.
you're doing, you tend to kind of want to just spew everything onto it as opposed to keeping it kind of simple. Um, uh, moving forward, what what do you hope your impact on the industry would be, and to say somebody younger that's coming into the industry, and especially illustrator or artist of color, what do you hope to make impact wise and give to them and let them know?
And it's possible, Um, uh, yeah, overall, like, that it's really possible to like have a career as an artist. I think especially for people of color, it's it's tough just because it depends on your family and stuff. You don't make a lot of money doing this. There's
Yeah.
a very small handful of cats out there who make careers and stuff. But I mean, etch, you know. But if you set up your steps up and really stay diligent and stuff, you can have a career, and pay attention to like what other creators are doing and how they're doing it. I mean, I've learned so much just from like social media and
Yeah.
podcasts, and getting advice and stuff on how to like have a creative career, not make a ton of money, but pay attention to some of the things because I didn't learn how to do like freelance taxes until like I was in the mix of
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
and screwing up, and then oh snap, the IRS is calling me that I can't pay my taxes. I was like, so it's just like I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of like there's a lot of like mistakes that you have to make and stuff, but I mean, I feel I'm kind of jealous of the younger generation coming up because there are so many more opportunities for them to not go to college, because there's so much you can learn just on YouTube,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they're definitely living in an age where, there's more competition, but there's more chances of you figuring out how to do it, versus doing it while you're in the water,
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I was kind of came up, I kind of like jumped in head first and I
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
paddling for like the longest time, and it wasn't until like, maybe for a while I actually feel like, oh, I can do this, and now I'm finally kind of swimming to kind of the direction I want to go with my career.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree.
thanks to my wife, because she she has health insurance.
That's always a good thing. Having
Yeah.
health insurance for sure. And that's I think that's why a lot of parents kind of want you to have that fallback thing because they're thinking,
Yeah.
you need to have benefits.
Yeah.
You need to have
Yeah. And,
benefits. They want you to have benefits for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
I
Um,
was lucky for a while in New York. There was actually this program in Brooklyn that was this arts program at the hospital that
mm,
you would just volunteer, and I would just like work with these kids and like read books and stuff,
yeah.
and I would get credit for free healthcare.
Oh wow.
So if you
Wow.
were just an artist,
Yeah.
it was at the hospital that I hated in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
but it was free. I got free like teeth clean. I got a couple wisdom teeth pulled and stuff. So there's programs like that for working artists and stuff, but not every city has that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Um, do you think that, and like I said, everybody that's just tuning in or catching this, we're having a fun conversation with my friend Anthony, super talented comic artist and illustrator for sure. And like I said, definitely have enjoyed having you on and definitely looking forward to having you back on. But do you feel like with all this that's available um, to creators now with social media that we suffer from this comparing or looking at what other people are doing and feeling like we just won't ever measure up because we're seeing such amazing talent. Do you think that's kind of a razor edge to having, or the flip side of having social media? Um, like I said, doing that kind of comparison thing, or like you said, um, some artists you have to learn to have the thick skin in the critiques that you're getting. A lot of people wouldn't have been able to take the critique that you got from somebody that's been in the industry a while.
Yeah,
While they're not saying it to be malicious, but they really are giving you an honest critique of your work and how you can make it better. Do you feel
yeah.
like that's another thing that's lacking in some artists is they don't have a thick enough skin to take criticism when it's coming from somebody that's been in the industry and is just flat out better than them.
Um, yeah, I know for a fact if I showed my stuff to Neil Adams at a younger age, I probably would have been really discouraged and been like, I can't do this. But because I got rejected many times,
Yeah,
and I still like hit up places for jobs or people, hey, we want to look at your stuff, we like it, oh, we want to hire you, but then sorry, we're going to go with a different artist,
yeah,
And it really comes down to experience. You have to just get out there and get hurt. You have to take the punches, and after you've taken it a few, you definitely learn something about yourself. And it's tough. I still do it. You see a new artist that's doing some ill stuff, and you're just like, damn, my stuff is not as good as this. And those dark days come along, where you feel insecure and you just want to like quit and stuff. Like, well, I've been doing this for so long, and I'm
yeah,
not. People I've come up with, are doing big things, working for Marvel, and they're doing this, and their stuff is getting, bought out from a film company, and they're
yeah,
making a
yeah,
movie on it. And I'm just like, and you really gotta like step out of yourself and be like, that's irrelevant. Like the world's gonna do what's gonna do.
yeah,
You have to like, find that like inner patience and just go, but you're still doing something that nobody else can do. You're
yeah,
still an individual artist. Like it's a luxury, and a privilege to, especially, if someone gives you any kind of money to do it, you gotta really appreciate, even the $10
yeah,
sketch that you do and go, getting paid for this, you know, and realize a lot of people out there are working some jobs they hate, you
Yeah.
know. So like, you know, I remind myself that, you know, and
Yeah.
be like, I'm still somehow I'm still doing this,
Yeah.
and I have to humble myself, you know, and you know, put the blinders on and just ignore what everybody else is doing and go, the fact that I exist and I'm making this and everything that I've done up to my career, you know, it's still, you know, specifically unique to just me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No.
it's hard to remind yourself of that, you know, and you
Yeah.
forget sometimes and you get caught up and, but, you know, you
It
gotta like
is.
sit down and force yourself.
It is, and I have to drop a bomb on that one, guys. That was I always
That's
like
hilarious.
dropping I always like dropping bombs on gems, for sure.
That's hilarious, man.
Because because I, like I said, I remind myself of that, a lot too as
Yeah,
well. I think, as creators, you kind of always are kind of fending off that little inkling of feeling, but you remind yourself that, one, everybody has their own journey. Everybody,
yeah,
everybody's journey is different, and everybody doesn't start at the same place. Somebody is way further along than I am, and I'm way further along than somebody else is. So everybody is on their own little journey. And two, like you just said, I consider myself very blessed that, even though I may not be, you know, making the super wide money, I'm doing something that I love to do where most people are stuck in jobs that they really hate, or even haven't taken the chance to pursue the dream of what they've always wanted to do. A
yeah,
lot of people, they know what they would love to do, but they're afraid to take that step out to try and see if they can make it a reality, or just,
yeah,
make it something that they are doing. So I tell myself that I'm at least willing to live and do what I enjoy doing, and have taken the chance to step out and, do it. There are moments where I fail, there are moments where I succeed, but I can honestly say, hey, I'm doing what I love to do, what I was born to do. And, a lot of people, like I said, go to jobs where they're dreading Monday morning, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
praying for Friday, to come. So that's the type of thing, that's the type of life that, as a creator, you don't really want, and you're not thinking about. You're just thinking about, this is what I love to do.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. No, I know people who are planning for their retirement and stuff, and I'm just like, I'm not going to retire.
No.
I'm doing this till
To,
I can't, you know, like
yeah.
until nature stops me, you know, and I I love doing what I do, you know, and I plan on scribbling on a piece of paper till I can't, you know.
Till they close the coffins.
Yeah, man. And hopefully some toxic waste will drip into there and I'll be animated and stuff. And the zombie Tony would be like, oh,
He'll be drawing on the wall. The zombie
yeah,
Tony, Miss
yeah.
Maggie. Can't anyone see your work and not know you are amazing in what you do? For sure. Like I said, and that's the thing. You know, everybody's time, it's their time, and every
Yeah,
in time is when it'll happen, and that's what I try and tell myself. Like I said, I'm not Oprah, and I don't have an Oprah show,
yeah,
but hey, I'm doing this show and I enjoy doing it.
yeah,
People enjoy it, and so I live in that, and my goal is to always make it better. So that's what I try and hang on to. It's easy to get jealous of somebody. It really is easy to get jealous of somebody else's
yeah,
success, but the true nature of a person is to let that inspire you. You know, if it's possible for them, it's possible for you. That's where inspiration comes from.
Yeah,
Mr. DeMille, very good advice. Yes, like I said, that's why I always like dropping bombs, DeMille.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, also like I think failure has been like the best educator I've ever had.
um,
Like every time I've messed up or didn't accomplish something or a piece didn't come out the way I wanted to, like
yeah,
it's the journey. And you said this before, is the journey.
it's the
You know,
journey. Yeah,
of making things is definitely like
yeah,
you have to make mistakes,
yeah,
to improve.
yeah.
Um,
And I don't think there, you can't find, you cannot. I wish you could show me somebody successful, and especially somebody that's at the top of their profession, whatever it is, that hasn't failed or has worked to get to that point. Every inventor, they didn't invent the thing right off the bat. They went through so many failures to get to that success. You
yeah,
know, every artist, they went through every, redo, failure, whatever, to get to that perfect piece that they like. So there is no, I think, and somebody said this before, there is no such thing as failure. It's only failure if you don't learn something from it. Yeah, if there's
yeah,
something that you don't
yeah,
learn from it, then it's failure for you because you
yeah,
didn't learn anything. So as long as you
yeah,
learn something from it, then you haven't failed. You've just you've just eliminated something that doesn't work, and you go to the
yeah,
next thing.
yeah. I mean, there's that Michael Jordan thing too, where
Yeah,
that to make that one winning game shot, he had to miss ten
yeah,
thousand important
yeah.
shots. So I
And most
mean,
people, like I said, they don't know. He didn't make his what junior year and how he got cut. So that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Everybody starts somewhere, and it's just how determined are you to make yourself better at your craft and better at your skill or whatever it is.
yeah,
And that comes with long hours putting it in. Long hours sitting at a drawing paper, drawing over and over again.
yeah.
Long,
And I used to teach this after school class in the Bronx, and actually in Manhattan too. But it was like two different schools,
yeah,
and I one of the things that I was, it was an art class, and mostly focused on comics, and some of the students would get so frustrated, and the one thing that I did notice is, and I noticed myself too, is you just have to like go out and do it, you know,
yeah,
go out and experience it too, because I could probably lecture them and give all the examples that we've talked over and over, and show,
yeah,
this person did this and this person did that, but this, especially some of these students, felt so frustrated, and it wasn't until they actually like did it,
yeah, yeah,
that they learned that this is when they feel the tactile art and you start drawing and stuff, when you actually like put yourself in situations, not just with art but with life and stuff, is you kind of have to like experience some of these things to fully understand it, even
yeah.
though especially with young people and stuff, you could tell them something, but until they actually do it,
Do it.
they're not
Yeah,
gonna learn, you know.
yeah. And that's like I said, that's just the reality of it. Hey, Michael Jordan could have said, "Hey, I want to be the best all-time basketball player out there," but until he actually went out there and did it, you know, practiced it, I could be the best artist until I actually sit down and put the time in to do it. I'm not going to be that. So you have to put it, we all want something, but you have to put in the time and the work to get it,
Yeah,
whatever it is that you want.
yeah.
So for
Yeah, I
sure.
always think of John and Michelle Basquiat too.
Yeah.
Like I look at his stuff, and I'm just like his fearless energy, of putting something down so raw, you know, like my parents won't look at that artwork and be like impressed, but there's something about it that like just blows my mind. Where like I don't think I have that in me where I could be that free,
Yeah.
like there's an expectation that I always will have in my head that I don't think that I'm chained to, or like the
Yeah.
work I do has to look this certain way.
Yeah.
But the level that he was doing it with his work is just like, man, like that's some freedom right there,
Yeah.
like he just threw it down, and it's something that I don't know. I always look at his stuff, for inspiration, where I do feel down on myself, and I'm like, it's not so much the technical aspect, it's your voice,
Yeah.
and I
And
think people resonate with that in the long run,
yeah,
so
like you said, I think being true to what you like and being
yeah,
true to, your what you enjoy, and not worrying so much about whether somebody else is gonna like. I think if you come from that perspective, first, do I really like this? Is it something that resonates with me?
yeah,
And if you like it, then 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna resonate with everybody, but there's gonna be people out there that feel it, feel what you feel and really connect with it. And so those are the ones that, you know, if you're true to yourself, you try and attract people that are true as well to themselves and
yeah.
what you're doing. So, like I said,
I
it's
hear
it's
that.
it's been an amazing show. We've had fun just sitting down. I hope you, the viewers, have had fun and enjoyed Anthony and his work. Make sure that you get connected with Anthony. You can find him on all his social platforms here. Where is it? Connect with Anthony. You can find him on Twitter, of course, Instagram. Check out Vimeo. He's got a great Vimeo video on there. LinkedIn, where we connected, of course. But go to his website. He just put up some new amazing work on his website, logic1.com. His future graphic novel that's coming out. The link will be on there as well. Super looking forward to having you back on, Anthony, to talk about the book project that you're working on with your partners there, for sure, that we spoke about earlier. But it's been, my honor and pleasure, one, meeting and connecting. Woo, that's over me there. One, meeting and connecting with you, Anthony, and just building a friendship. Like I said, you do some amazing work, and so looking forward to seeing the future work that comes from you as well. Um,
Yeah,
it,
this book I'm working on, the Story Eater, is it's going to be pretty much all I'm really working on in the next year or two or whatever. It's I'm pretty excited about it because John Jennings came up with the original concept, and then Jasmine Joyner, she's the writer. And I've been working with her and stuff, and she's pretty amazing. So I got shouts out to John Jennings and Jasmine for getting me involved on the project because it's a cool story. It's different, and I'm excited about it. I don't want to
uh,
talk too much, because it's not done.
yeah,
It'll be
I know
worked
you don't
on,
want to do a
but
spoiler.
I'm just
That's
like, this is the biggest thing I've worked on in my life. So I'm just like, oh,
you're
like
always you're
wait
always
till it's
itching to
out
tell
there.
it. You always
Yeah,
want to tell it, but you have to keep it
yeah.
under wraps until
I
it come
know.
out.
Jasmine came up with some sick stuff because I was sitting there reading it, and I'm just like, what the? This is insane. So I'm like, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
John Jennings is really insane. Like he's this dude, man. You got to have him on the show because this cat's like a billion ideas. He does it. And I'm just like every time I talk to him, I'm like, dude, man, stop. You're making me feel so small here, because you have so many ideas. It's a very
Oh,
cool
but see,
story.
it's great being around those type of people. As
Yeah, yeah,
intimidating as it can be sometimes, when you're around somebody that's just, their mind just
yeah,
goes, and they're not only that, but they're the type to get there. It's one thing to have ideas.
yeah.
A lot of people have ideas, but it's a totally different thing when you come across somebody that can get their ideas out and
Not even that, but
really,
like there's people who bring the best out of you.
yeah,
Like my
yeah,
wife brings the best out of me. I mean, that's why I married her because
yeah,
she brings like the best person out of me.
yeah.
And even then, there's an inkling of a jerk comes out. I'm just gets slapped right down and stuff. And she's a graphic designer too, so it's great to like not only be married to a creative person, but it's great to be able to like express yourself with even something that you wouldn't normally talk to,
Yeah.
somebody who doesn't know anything about art. I could totally like. She's hearing me in the other room and she's laughing.
You should have her poke if she's listening. Poke your head in on the screen there and say hello.
Can you come in and say hi real quick?
For those of you that just,
She's a little shy. She might not.
oh, okay. She's a shy. She's a shy. She's one of those ones that but I hear her.
Like
As you can hear her, you can hear her cracking up on screen for sure.
Oh,
no,
man.
but you definitely
next time I do this, all right, I'm gonna drag my wife.
Yes, please do. Make sure that she's on screen.
She's a great designer. And it's crazy. I mean, talking about like I've been fortunate enough because like the past 10 years there's just been a renaissance of black creators, especially in animation and comics and stuff, but the graphic design industry is very, especially for a black woman, working in graphic design, it's tough, because I know a lot of graphic designers, and it's definitely, like everything, you kind of have to know some people to kind of get a leg up in the industry and stuff, and that's just how things work, but it's a very white male dominated industry, especially with graphic design.
Don't I know? But that's kind of that really is my background, graphic design, what I got my degree in. So I definitely understand what you're saying as far as it's really kind of, it's not as, I won't say diverse, but it's really hard. And of course, like you said, it's just a white male dominated space. So it is nice when you see black women, black men, or just people of color really kind of in that kind of space starting to come up. Of course, in animation and character design and illustration, there's a lot, but just in graphic design, motion design is another one that it's very few that you kind of come across that are really out there doing some great work.
And I hope in the future, especially for upcoming creatives, is it's not just the actual creatives and graphic designers and stuff, or actors or people making the work, but editors and directors and people behind the scenes. I mean, there's a handful of them, but it's not.
And I think it's growing. I think, like I said, because of the time that we're in, we're starting to realize that, like you said, you got creators that are creating their own studios, keeping control of their own IPs because they know what they've got. So I think more and more you're starting to see these independent creators, independent studio owners that are really starting to make a difference, that a lot of the bigger studios now are working with them or partnering with them because they see that they don't have that necessarily in house, and a lot of them are coming up, like I said, whether it's a Latino studio or, like I said, my last guest a couple of shows ago, Carlos Gaxiola, amazing animation studio out of Mexico that does a lot of stuff with Nickelodeon and stuff like that, just amazing work. So you're starting to get a lot of people of color that are controlling their own destinies now, and especially, like I said, in this time where we got so much social media and so many different avenues and platforms to get our stuff out there as we so choose to do, and don't necessarily have to go that traditional route anymore.
And it's not even that, but anyone who's listening, especially young people coming up and stuff, like, don't be threatened by people who think like you're the next woke thing, or threatened by the word diversity. It's not going away. We're here, and we're doing some really awesome stuff, and like we just want opportunities, just like everyone else, and I think
and to tell us our story or a story authentically. Like I said, I think you
Yeah.
get a lot of people that, like I said, that are creating it, but you know, now you, we tend to have gotten pigeonholed this way or that way, whether
Yeah.
it's they're thinking black, they're okay, it's got to be an urban type of edgy
Yeah.
type of thing, as opposed to, okay, we have love stories, we have comedies, we there are a lot of, like I said, we have these general mundane lives like everybody does. We have these general funny lives that everybody does. So I think you're starting to see a lot that are breaking out into these different avenues, whether it be, a black comedy or a romance or horror or whatever it may be, as opposed to, okay, when you think black, you think, okay, he's got to be a gangster or he's got to be this or he's got to be that, edgy. There's just so many different areas and so many different ways of telling a story, that I think a lot of people now, a lot of studios now, they see the value of it. A lot of smaller studios are cropping up. A lot of independent creators are coming up, and using these tools such as social media, such as Kickstarter, really building their base. And like I said, foregoing the traditional distribution route of Disney or Warner or Sony or whoever it may be, DC, Marvel, you know, because ultimately if you go that route, they're more than likely going to take a good chunk of what you're creating and maybe warp it differently than what you intended it to go
Yeah.
down. So, like I said, I think people are really, creators are really thinking passionately about their particular IPs, whatever it may be, and really being protective of it, as opposed
Yeah.
to, okay, I'll just let it go because Disney or this comes to me with $1 million or however many million, feeling like they're going to lose control of it in some kind of way, and that
Yeah.
may be, the way you want to go, um, for some, but I think everybody's, even in that route, everybody still has their own ideas and are still really protective of it. And hopefully, like I said, a lot of the studios will, and I think they're starting to give a lot of leeway and a lot of control with some. Um, like I said, Netflix, I always give Netflix big props because, while they're probably, not the easiest, they really do kind of give control and come out with different stories than and they're willing to take a lot of chances on the different stories that they put out. So you got a lot of great stuff coming, from creators. I'm looking forward to, I don't know if he was a guest on season 1, Everett Downey, animator. Um, he's got a Netflix series, My Dad the Bounty Hunter, coming out, animated
I'm gonna
series,
have to check that out.
that he's doing with Netflix. I think it comes out next year. But actually, I just shared on my page, they did a kind of behind the scenes of the studio they're working with over in France to do the animation and everything. But creators like that are really, like I said, they've got great ideas, and they're finding these partners and companies that are willing to work with them, still give them control of what they're doing, and
Yeah.
allow them to put their story out. So that's why I think we as creators now are realizing that the power is really in our hands of how we can control our destiny. Like I said, because we got so many of these platforms and avenues now of doing that. And so that's why I'm encouraged when, seeing the projects that you're working on and coming out, because I know those are the things that really do fuel these other studios to really take notice of the IP, that the ideas, the
Yeah.
characters that are starting to come out from these creators.
And thank you for having this show. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out there, and this is really cool. This is like specifically, on careers and creatives that are doing some interesting things in the industry. I saw some of the guys on there I haven't even heard of. I'm definitely going to check out more of them, and um, yeah,
Nah, thank you for being on
person,
the show.
yeah,
Now, amazing. Like I said, I'm honored to have. Like I said, one, I'm honored to call you a friend, Anthony, and two, honored to have you come on to the show, because that really does. Like I said, it speaks to the core of what the color of motion really is about. It's really showing all the talent that's out there that you just definitely ordinarily wouldn't know about or get a chance to see, because there's that's the beauty and the fun that I've had doing the show, is being able to connect with such talent such as yourself, such talent such as Demille, that's a proponent of the show, and so many other talented people like Everett, and just not only here in this country but over in Africa and over in all these other places. There are just so many talented creators out there. It amazes me. Well, it does. It amazes me, but then again, it doesn't amaze me, because I always knew there was a lot of people out there that were doing it. But it makes me
So
really
I have a
feel good.
question for you. Do you think you might take this show on the road?
Yeah, I really would. Kind of. Yeah, I really kind of plan on doing that in the future. I'm kind of testing it out a little. I'm giving a little heads up to people. Um, a little sneak peek. I do plan on doing live from our local comic palooza here in Houston,
Nice, nice.
but I do want to do, and am really been talking with some of the other guests that I've had that are kind of doing the same thing. Jade Seaberry, who I had on a couple of weeks ago, she does CEO of Diverse Tunes, and they kind of do like panels, talking about diversity and stuff. So that's another thing. We're looking to think about doing some type of event, multi-day event somewhere, and
Yeah.
bringing in a lot more diverse, creatives in. So it definitely something I would love to do, and that's, like I said, why my goal is to just make the color of motion as big as I can, take it as
Yeah.
far as I can, because I do see a lot of opportunity of the things that it can do, and the people that it can connect with and touch. So yeah, that is something I'm looking to do even more of. Mr. DeMille, yes, I agree. Great guest. Again, I can't thank you, Anthony, enough for being on the show, and really, like I said, just making the color of motion season 2 even better than season 1. So
Yeah,
it's
next time
going well.
I'll get a chance to talk about the time I saw a UFO.
Yeah, for sure. That is, definitely what. And tell your wife she's got to be on next time. So she's
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
be on
So
with
next
you.
time I'll drag her in.
Drag her in. Put a camera on it.
Like,
But I am looking.
oh,
I am super looking forward to having you and
John
your
Jennings
John
and
Jennings and
Justin
the
Tanya.
writer on doing like a 3-way, show, and having you talk about the book as it starts to really come into fruition. So
Yeah.
super looking forward to having you back on. Again, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This was a pretty kind of long one. We're getting
Sorry for
close.
talking so much,
No,
man.
no, no, no. Trust me. You still haven't hit the record yet. I've had a couple that have gone over 2 hours,
Over.
but this has been it's fun. And like I said, while I do try and keep it, about an hour, I have no problem with it's
You're like
going
such a
well.
cool guy. There's so many topics that we could have like opened up to. I mean, we haven't
That's
really
what I said.
fully like
I don't
started
get
talking
through.
about movies and like because I
I
remember you, on one of your other ones you said you're a horror fan and like
I
you like
am.
to
I do. I
Dead
love
and stuff.
horror.
I'm like, dude, oh man, Walking Dead's the jam. You
Oh
know,
man,
I
I
could talk
love
all day
horror.
about The Walking Dead. You know,
Yeah,
like.
I'm a
Oh,
horror fan. I mean, I love a lot of things, and for me, yeah, like I said, if it's going well, hey, I can sit and jab with you. And it's
yeah,
easy. It really is a lot easier when you have somebody like you that's got a fun personality, and we can have this good banter back and forth, and we're just conversating. It goes
yeah.
by so quick.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm working. So, like, the ones that have, like, a 3 hour mark on it, I'm like, oh, I'm listening to that, and I draw and listen to and stuff. So, for all the people who might be drawing right now, um, I'm sorry.
No, this is like I said. This has been fun, for sure. And like I said, I am super looking forward, definitely to having you back on, Anthony. And
Nice.
again,
Nice.
can't thank you enough, Miss Maggie. I appreciate that, for sure. Again, I appreciate everybody that's tuned in, stuck with us. Jumped in, checked out. Gonna catch the replay. I appreciate everybody that is helping to make the color of motion the best that it can be. Anthony, if you could hang out in the green room for just
Gotcha.
1 minute while I close out the show, I'd appreciate it. But everybody, please help me thank Anthony again for being on. Make sure you connect with him. All his information is going to be in the show notes on the YouTube channel for sure. So make sure you hop on over there and connect with him. But again, help me thank him for being on the show and making it a great one.
For having me down.
All right, all right. Everybody, of course, this has just been a fun episode. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, they always go by, hour, 2 hours goes by just like that. It really does. And sometimes in my mind, I can think, man, do I want it to be that long? But then, like I said, long form videos are always great. So, hey, if you don't catch it, you can always listen to it. I am looking to port all the shows over to just audio so you can listen to it while you're working. You don't necessarily have to watch it, but listen to it. So we are definitely going to be another thing bringing to Color of Motion audio podcasts for these episodes as well. So super excited about that. Again, I appreciate everybody that stuck with me for the show. Tuned in. Gonna catch the replay. Can't thank you enough. Make sure that you join me next week because the fun continues and season 2 is just plowing on for sure, and we're just having one great guest after another. So next week's guest is no exception for sure. Super excited to have on my man Laren Desjardins. How do I pronounce that? I think it's Desjardins is how you pronounce his last name. Laren Desjardins. Let me do that again so you can catch it. Character designer, animator, and director with Disney Television Animation. He does some super amazing stuff and has worked on some super amazing projects for sure. So definitely looking forward to sitting down with Laren. He's no parking. Laren is wicked awesome. Yeah, and enjoyed connecting with him. And super looking forward to having him on the show as well next week. So you definitely want to make sure you tune in. It's going to be a blast for sure. Mr. No Barking, I appreciate it. Love seeing the Color of Motion appear. Oh, wow. Appear on your Oh, okay. I love to see. Yeah, that's another thing. Spotify. Yeah, we're going to be working on that. I was going to say, we're showing up on Spotify? I don't know. But we are going to be working on that for sure. So coming soon, coming soon. Again, before I head out, you still have time to join the amazing giveaway that we are doing with our new partner, Toon Boom Animations. We are giving away 2 one-year subscriptions to their amazing software, Harmony 21 and Storyboard Pro. If you know anything about Toon Boom, they are industry standard when it comes to doing 2D animation, storyboards, just creating. So, hey, if you want to get your hands on a license, jump into the giveaway. If you go to the link, my LinkedIn page or the YouTube group, you'll see the video that I shared out this week, and I'm sharing out until the end of the contest, and what you have to do in order to get into the giveaway. So make sure that you hop on over, check out the video, find out all you have to do. It's only 3 simple things that you have to do, and you're in. And you may have a chance to win 2 of those, or either one of those softwares. You can't go wrong with either one for sure. So that's in celebration of our new partnership with Toon Boom Animations. Okay, I got that in. With that, thank you again for tuning in. It's been fun. I can't thank you enough. And like I said, it's you that makes The Color of Motion a great show, along with my guests and friends coming on. So with that, I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great week, everybody. Cheers.